from the stream. We are reading Castaways of the Flying Dutchman by Brian Jakes. Chapter 13. Ben and Ned were walking along together, still discussing their merits and drawbacks of the barn. In the absence of anything better, the dog was warming to the idea. I like lots of nice deep straw in a barn. Good fun, straw is. You can roll about in it, jump off bales. Ben smiled mischievously as he answered his dog's thought. Huh, you can brush your own self off tomorrow if you're planning on rolling about in straw all night. I'm not your kennel maid. The Labrador looked indignant. Never said you were. And by the way, when did I last roll about in a barn full of straw, eh? Ben mused a moment before answering. April the 9th, 1865, if I remember rightly, the day that Robert Lee surrendered to Grant. We were in a barn somewhere outside Kansas City. Oh, yes, you jumped on my head, I remember that much. Had to jump on your fat head, otherwise you'd have kicked off doing your barking exercise and betrayed us to those renegades. Don't forget, Ned, I saved you from becoming a dog-skin saddlebag. The Labrador sniffed airily. Thank you kindly, young sir, but this isn't the American Civil War, though not but a sleepy English backwater village. I'll bark to my heart's content. Got to exercise the old bark now and again, you know. Never can tell when it'll come in useful. Ben halted. Quiet, Ned. Did you hear that? Sounds like shouting. The dog's keen ears raised. It is shouting. Winnie the Witch was the crackled face. Come out and give us a chase. Might be something like a quaint local custom, eh, Ben? As they rounded a tree-fringed bend, Ben caught sight of the old red brick house standing alone on the hillside. What did Alex say the gang's name was, Ned? Grange Gang, I think? Why? I think we might have found them. Come on, let's go and take a quiet peep at what's going on. There were 10 of them altogether, led by Whiff Smithers and his cousin Ringa Woodworthy. Wilf kept the others busy searching for more ammunition in the snow, whilst he and Ringa Regina stood by, shaking the rhododendron bushes. A fat boy with piggy eyes, who had been searching the garden, came creeping back through the shrubbery. He was carrying a double handful of rotten vegetation. Wilf pulled a face, turning away from the stench emitting from the mess. Paw! That doesn't half stink. Where'd you get it, Tomo? The fat boy threw the stuff awkwardly, and it landed short of the house, splattering on the front steps. He snickered with glee, wiping his hands on the grass. Round the back there, Wilf. Winnie the Witch has a big compost heap piled up against the wall. He watched Wilf, tough, sun-reddened face, for signs of approval. The leader of the Grange gang ignored his minion and gave orders to the others. You lot go around to that compost and fetch a load back here. We'll make the witch's house smell like sewer before we're finished. Bring as much as you can. Ben and his dog had been eavesdropping from the other side of the garden wall. Ned's hackles rose. Witch hunters persecuting some old lady. Grr, stupid ignorant louts. I can't abide them. Ben was of the same mind. There's always bullies to pick on someone who can't defend themselves, Ned. Let's go and upset them a bit. The Labrador shook his head. If we're staying around here a while, it won't do to invite trouble right off. Leave this to me, pal. Ben cautioned his friend. Don't go causing them any real damage, Ned. This isn't the Battle of Tarfalgar, Tarfalgar, you know. Ned's face was the picture of injured, innocent, doggy innocence. Who, me? What possible harm could a gentle ancient pooch do to a great, tough teenagers? Thinking back to the past adventures, Ben was about to remind Ned of several incidents, but he looked around and the Labrador had vanished like a black shadow. The gang were taking their time gathering garbage from the compost pile, rotting apples, carrot tips, withered cabbages. Wolf's deputy, Regina, crouched impatiently behind the bushes. What's the matter with them, Whiff? Have they gone around asleep round there? Wolf was facing her, peering across the garden. I'll kick that Tomo's behind if he doesn't move himself. Something heavy hit Regina in the back and knocked her flat. She turned around and found herself facing a giant mad dog. It was black as night, showing gleaming fangs as its lips twitched hungrily. Dark eyes glittering, fur standing up on its spine, it stood snarling, ready to attack. Regina managed to mutter, Whiff! There's a dog! A dog! She need not have spoken. The beast already had Whiff's undivided attention. The boy took one pace back and fell flat on his behind. The dog turned to face him, broth showing in its jaws. Grrr, grrr, woof. A tremendous bark galvanized them both into instant motion. Scrambling upright, Regina ran for it, banging to Whiff and smacking his head against the sandstone garden wall. A woof, yarg! Ned had the way out blocked. Wilf and Regina fled toward the compost heap, which was piled high against the wall, offered the only quick way out of the garden. The big black Labrador pursued them, snarling and growling viciously. The rest of the gang took one look at the savage hound and tried to make good their escape. However, the soft, ripe compost couldn't bear their joint weight, and Wilf and Regina and their cohorts found themselves sinking into the odious, squelching mire, shrieking and grabbing at one another as he barked and bayed like a mad wolf. Ned allowed a little slather of froth to wreath his jaws, though inside he felt like he was giggling like a puppy. The fleeing Grange members fell over one another, kicking and fighting to be first over the wall, faces, hands, elbows, and legs covered with stinking mass of decaying vegetation. Standing outside, Ben saw the first few fling themselves from the wall top, thudding painfully onto the dusty path. Before they could rise, more yowling, muddy apparitions landed on them. It was an utter bedlam. Ben pulled a disgusted face at the smell hanging in the air. Then he turned away, carelessly whistling an old chief's shanty. His untidy blonde shock of hair bobbing as he entered the garden jauntily. Ned came bounding up, his teeth bared in a huge doggy grin. Now you know why my barking practice is important. Did you hear me, Ben? I made more din than a pack of beagles. Pretty good going, I'd say. Excellent. You did very well for an ancient hound. Bet they cover a mile or two before they stop running. What's this? Look, Ned, there's an old lady coming out of the house. Miss Winn had a walking stick in her hand in case of trouble, and she stopped several yards from them. Her voice had a sharp note to it as she looked them over. You don't look like one of those hooligans. What are you doing here? Is that dog yours? Ned sat still and did some friendly dog panting exercises. which he rated as important as barking practice. Ben flicked hair from his eyes with a swift nod and smiled disarmingly. Afternoon, Marm. We didn't mean to trespass, but we thought that gang was annoying you. Not nice, that, annoying folk? Miss Winn peered close at the edge at the strange, polite boy. His white cabin pants, crewneck sweater, together with what appeared to be a cut-down naval jacket, gave him the look of a seaman, freshly arrived ashore. Behind his smile she could sense calm. However, it was mainly the boy's blue eyes that caught her attention. They seemed ageless, misty, blue, like the summer horizon of a far sea. She blinked, beckoning the two forward with her stick. Does the dog attack cats? The Labrador shot out an indignant thought. Attack cats? Me? Is the old dear mad? I love the furry things as long as they keep their claws to themselves. Ha! Attack cats. Ben patted his dog fondly. Ned's fine with cats, Marm. He's friendly too. Give the lady your paw, Ned. Miss Wynne held out her hand and Ned dutifully presented a paw. Obviously impressed, the old lady stroked Ned's sleek coat. Oh, you're a good dog. Ned, good dog. Ned gave her the benefit of a soulful gaze. Thank you, Marm, and you're a nice lady. She turned to the strange boy. So what's your name? Ben, Marm. Just call me Ben. She offered her hand. Ben took it gently and she winked at him. My name is Winifred Wynn, but you can call me Winnie. And stop marming me. You sound like my husband used to. Marm this and marm that. Well, Ben, I suppose you like apple pie and lemonade, and I'll bet that Ned wouldn't mind finishing a dish of water and a beef bone, with lots of marrow and fat to it. Ooh, I'd love to grow. I could grow to love this old lady dearly. Ben passed the dog's compliment. That'd be very nice, Sir Winnie. Thank you. She ushered them both inside. It's the least I can do. Thank you for driving those wretches away from the house. The trouble they've caused me and the whole village. But enough of that. You've probably got your own troubles. Come on, you two. We'll use the parlor. It's not often I have visitors. Chapter 14. Looks to be a grandfather clock. Used to have one in the house when I was a kid. Cling, cling, cling. Had these acorns that would lay down they would hang by a chain instead of like the standard pendulum. It's cool to see. Had birds all around it. Interesting cuckoo clock. No, we actually had a grandfather clock too. I guess I was thinking the cuckoo clock had the hanging pine cones and the grandfather clock. That was in the living room. Let's carry on. Ben sat a, at a spindle-legged coffee table in in the parlor, tucking into a sizable wedge of Miss Wynn's apple pie and fresh cream poured over it. There was a tall glass of homemade lemonade with it. Ned had retired to the kitchen for his beef bone and water, where Miss Wynn had also given him a piece of shortbread pasty. Horatio arched his back and left on the table until the dog passed him reassuring thoughts. The cat did not reply, but after a while began purring and came down to rub itself against Ned's leg. Miss Winn smiled approvingly as she came to fetch the rest of the apple of her apple pie and cream. Returning to the parlor, she set it down in front of her guest. Boys always like apple pie. Help yourself, son. Look at as if you could use some more. Go on, don't be shy. Ben took another generous slice. Thank you, Winnie. We haven't had much to eat since yesterday morning. As he ate, the blue-eyed boy studied the portrait over the mantelpiece. Is that your husband's picture? Anchor line, Captain A? Miss Wynne stared at him curiously. Not many lads your age would know that the Royal Navy is called the Anchor Line. Are you a seafarer, Ben? The boy took a thoughtful sip of lemonade. Not really. I've knocked about on barges and coasters as a galley lad. You hear things about the sea. It's always interested me. I've read quite a lot of stories, too. The boy did not like lying to the old woman, but he knew he could not tell her the truth. Who would believe that he and Ned had sailed on the Flying Dutchman in the year 1620? It would strain any credibility to believe that the boy and dog were still alive and well, ageless, in the year 1896. Let's do some math. They are 276 years old. 276 years old. That's when they started flying on the Dutchman. So whenever, they could probably like 290 now. He caught Miss Wynne staring at him intensely and turned away as she asked, I won't tell anyone, Ben. Where are you really from? He shrugged. I think I was born in Denmark. Copenhagen, but I'm not sure. Ned's from there. We've always been together. We've lived in quite a few places here and there. Miss Wynne shook her head perplexingly. I'll bet you have. Any parents, brothers, or sisters? Not that I know of, Winnie. I was planning on staying in Chapel Vale for a while as soon as I can find someone that allows dogs. I don't suppose you know of a place. Miss Winley suddenly felt sorry for her visitor. He looked so young, so alone. Concern showed in her voice. You mean that you haven't got anywhere to stay? Ben nodded. I've got money. I can pay for lodgings. I'd seen Ned didn't bother anybody. The old lady sat watching the boy. The flat grandfather clock chimes rang out 4:30. Ben had finished the last morsel of apple pie when his dog came from the kitchen and lay down contentedly, his head resting on the boy's scuffed boot. Fidgeting and fussing with her apron, Winnie looked up to the ornate molding ceiling, then down to her husband's portraits, and finally settling on Ben. Something in her eyes told him she had reached a decision. Tapping her worn gold ring against the chair, Miss Winnie pursed her lips. You aren't in any kind of trouble, are you, boy? My boy? Ben sat straight up. Certainly not, Miss Wynne. She touched his hand reassuringly. I believe you. You said you were thinking of staying in Chapel Vale for a while? I suppose that means you'll be moving on one day. You're a puzzle, Ben. There's more to you and your dog than meets the eye, a lot more. She cleared away the plates and glasses, watching the crestfallen lad out of the corner of her eye. Shall we say that you can stay here for a few days, then? I don't think those bullies will come round to harass me if they see Ned wandering the garden. Ben brightened up immediately. Oh, thank you, Marm. Ned'll keep them away, and I'll help you around the house and do your shopping for you. I can pay for lodgings, too. I have money, you know. Miss Wynne held up her hand, cutting off Ben's frostily. Please, I'm not rich, but I have enough to get by on with Captain Wynn's pension. I'm not beholden to anyone, and I don't need you to pay me. I'm allowing you to stay here as a friend. Ned passed the thought to his master. What a nice old lady Winnie is. This place feels more like home, whatever home's supposed to feel like. Don't forget to thank her for me. I've been trying to talk with the cat Horatio, but he's not much to say for himself. It must be with his having no creatures to speak to that he's lost the art of conversation, poor fellow. Ben answered the dog's thoughts. When you finally get chatting together, see what you can find out about him. It might give us a clue as to why we've been sent here. Miss Winn tapped Ben's shoulders. Are you listening to what I'm saying, young man? What? Oh, sorry, Miss Wins. I must have dozed off. The old lady chuckled. You looked as if you were ready to drop off there, sitting and staring at the dog. I was just saying to you that Ned could take the rear bedroom. I sleep down here in the small sitting room nowadays. My left leg's not so good. I need to keep. I need help getting upstairs. Perhaps you'd best go and take a nap. There's a nice bathroom up there too. Ben rose gratefully. Thank you, Miss Wins. Thank you for everything from both of us. And I think I will take a bath and a nap. The old lady took Ben's hand. Help me upstairs and I'll show you to your room. I'll have dinner ready for you both at 7. Come on, Ned, good boy. Labrador looked questioningly at Ben. I don't mind the nap, but a bath's out of the question. It's not half an hour since I had a good scratch and a lick. Ben tugged at the black lab's tail as they went upstairs. Miss Winn means me, not you. Hello. Sorry, I couldn't see the chat. It's so all of 2003. Hey, how's it going? It's been a while. I'm here. We are reading Castaways of the Flying Dutchman. Brian Jocks. Hope you are doing well. This is a fun story. It's basically a bunch of different points where a boy and his dog they find themselves in a journey across the Atlantic. Let's continue. It was a comfortable room with a soft old-fashioned bed. Ben picked up a framed Sempian photograph from beside the table. A young man and woman with 2 small boys stood on a palm-folded fondered vendra. The boy studied it. Looks like Indian or Chilean. Some sort of plantation? Miss Wynne was mildly surprised at her strange guest's knowledge. Yet, looking at his wise blue eyes, it seemed right, somehow, that he should know about the photograph. Your second guess was correct. Ben, it's Cleanne. My son Jim and his family, he manages a tea plantation for a British company out there. I've not seen his wife Lillian. or the children. The photograph is all I have of them. Maybe someday they'll come over for a visit. Miss Wynn suddenly looked very sad, and she sighed. Still, maybe it would be better for me if they stayed in Cleellen. Ben became curious. Why do you say that, Winnie? She shuffled slowly out of the room as she replied, I'll tell you at dinner. Stay where you're at, lad. I can manage going downstairs on my own quite well. After a good hot bath, Ben dressed in a clean change of clothing from his canvas bag and lay on the bed watching a shaft of late day sunlight on the floral wallpaper. Birdsong from the garden and distant rumble of a train sounded pleasant and comforting. He drifted off into slumber, happy that Ned had and he had found somewhere to stay. The dream stole unbidden into his sleep, gale force winds sweeping over a heaving deck, tattered sails framed against a storm-ripped sky, gray-green waves rushing across the raging main. He was clinging to the dog as they were washed overboard to the shattered ship, midship rails. Water, water, the earth was awash in wild sea water pounding in his ears, filling his nostrils, the odd faraway sound of muffled breathing escaping beneath the ship's ocean surface, then spray of churning white as he and the dog surfaced in the vessel's wake. He tried to swim with one hand, was clinging to the dog's collar with the other when he was struck by a spar and his dream became cascades of coloring lights exploding from the darkness. A velvety calm enveloped Ben as he floated off someplace in time and space. A gentle golden radiance filled his spirit when the angel's voice called, soft as a noon breeze in the summer meadows. Rest here, rest a while, help those in need of your gifts. Even in a place such as Chapel Vale, there are petty tyrants and those who are ruled by greed. You and your dog must come to the aid of the good folk here, but hearken at the sound of a single toll from a church bell. You must leave. The message of the bell, a church bell this time, remained in Ben's mind, even as his dream raced on over centuries, across seas, over mountains, through distant lands, wherever he and Ned had been to assist the oppressed in their struggle against villainy. He saw faces from the past, his friends and enemies alike, felt the apprehension of their rival, the joy of being a part of so many communities, and the sorrow of having to depart and leave them far behind. Always onward to fresh adventures with his faithful, unchanging friend Ned. The last thing that trailed through his dream was a vision of the Flying Dutchman, with Vanderdecker wild-eyed at the ship's wheel. Away, away across the dark waters it fled, until it too was lost from sight. Ben's slumber drifted with him off in the opposite direction to calm, untroubled sleep. Miss Wynn's cottage pie was as mouth-watering as the dessert of jam, roly-poly pudding and custard. She certainly knew how to cook for a hungry lad and his dog. Ben brought up Miss Wynn's remark from the afternoon. Wynn, I hope you don't mind me asking, but why did you say it would be better if your son and family stayed in Cleveland? Don't you want them to visit you? As if he had been waiting for a she'd been waiting for a sympathetic ear, the poor old lady poured forth her tale of woe. A man from the north has come to live outside Chapel Vale. His name is Obadiah Smithers, and he's in the business of industrial speculation. You know what that means? Small villages and hamlets right across Britain are being destroyed by men like Smithers. They build their mills and factories with chimneys belching black smoke, sink mines with slag heaps defacing the countryside, hacking out quarries, scarring the fields, destroying the woodlands, all in the name of progress, which they say nothing can stop. Yet all they bring the Smithers of this world is misery for money, temporal temporary hovels for their workers, low wages, and folk working right around the clock to make vast profits for their masters. Ben could see by Miss Winn's clenched fist and quivering voice that she was defiant, yet frightened. He spoke soothingly. So what is it that Smithers wants with Chapel Vale? It's just a little village. With an effort, she steadied her voice. She wants limestone. Would you believe it appears Chapel Vale is sitting on the top of a huge limestone deposit? As you know, limestone is a basic element of cement, and that's with all the building going on all over England, cement is in great demand. Progress means building more buildings, more cement. Obadiah Smithers, together with Jackman, Doing, and Bowie, as London firm, did a service of the land and made the discovery. They have a limestone quarry and cement factory right here in Chapel Vale. They said they've had the railway branch line built so they can deliver cement anywhere. By next Thursday, when the demolition order is made official, the shops, houses, and the entire village will be no more. Couldn't you move to another village? Ben's remark was quite innocent. He was taken aback by the venomousy of the old lady's reaction. She virtually exploded. Move? Certainly not, young man. Chapel Vale and the surrounding lands first belonged to the Winn family. I consider it my village. The boy shrugged. Has nobody tried to stop all of this? Miss Winn banged the table in frustration. I tried the day that Smithers posted the first notice in the square. I went to my lawyer, Mr. McCackey, and stated my claim as member of the Winn family, but the only deeds of ownership I have are for this house. I haven't any other written proof. I don't even have the deeds to the village almshouse in the square where Captain Winn said it still belongs to his family and is our inheritance. A village almshouse? The old woman poured tea as she explained. Long ago, an almshouse was a place where people could find free food and lodging. They were generally owned by rich families or the church. Poor friars, brothers, or begging orders, merchant monks often stayed at them. Nobody really knows how old our almshouse is, but it's very ancient. Unfortunately, it's in a dreadful state of repair. Our old friend Captain Winn's had taken to living there. His name is John Peterson. The villagers think that he's quite mad. Ben replenished the old lady's teacup. I'd like to meet him. She shook her head with a quick, severe, bird-like movement. I advise you to steer clear of him, lad. That old hermit doesn't like to take kindly to strangers or young people. She sniffed, wiping her eyes on her apron. He'll have to find somewhere else to live next Thursday. The deadline comes across to force then, and there's little I or anyone can do about it. The blue boy's eyes softened. He felt sad for the old lady. Only 1 week, but why? Miss Wynne gave a hopeless little shrug. Smithers and his London investors are powerful people. I can't prove the Winn title to Chapel Vale, and I have money to fight them. Joe Pesterson said he looked for evidence, and Mr. McKay has done his best to help, but it's no use. A month later, Smithers and his friends took a court order. They posted a notice in the village square. It says that any person, but it really means me, must provide ownership of the land in the event of no legal claims turning up. Smithers and the Londoners intend to purchase the village, shops, houses, almshouse, farms, everything they can demolish Chapel Vale to make way for their quarry and cement factory. That was a month ago. There's only 7 days now. Not only that, I know that Smithers allowed the boy of his to run loose with his gang. They'll harass me, the shopkeepers and the village folk. Some folk are so tormented by him, they'll be glad to move away in the end. Ned and Horatio had wandered into the parlor. They both lay and stretched on the hearthrug, where the hall clock chimed 9. Other than the room lay silent in the gathering dusk of late summer evening. Miss Winn sat staring at the window of her garden with its high red brick wall, rhododendrons and roses, and the neat square lawn separated by gently curving path with borders of pansies, gypsy grass, and busy linsey. Ben rested the urge to comfort her. Instead, he passed a thought to his dog. Did you hear all that? The big black animal opened one eye. Well, almost. I've got the general idea of what's going on, though I don't see how we can help. Ben's fist clenched involuntarily. But we've got to help. Now that I know why the angel steered us to Chapel Vale, Ned, we must help these people to help themselves in some way or other. Ned, you closed that eye. Are you going to sleep? The Labrador eye flicked lazily open. No, I'm not. I'm giving it some thought. The best way to solve a problem is to sleep on it. Not a lot we can start doing until tomorrow, is there, Ben? The boy watched Miss Winn rise and start clearing away the dinner things. He helped her to carry the dishes out to the kitchen, then took up a dishcloth. I'll wash you wipe, Winnie. We'll get through these dishes cleared away, and please stop worrying. Everything will turn out all right. You've got me and Ned to help you now. She shook her head and smiled. Ned can't help with the dishes. Turning away from the sink, Miss Wynn found herself staring straight into the boy's wise blue eyes. You'd be surprised how me and Ned can help you, he said. Chapter 15. As sunlight streamed through the window onto the counterpane, a dirty cart clattered by in the lane. Ben walked gradually, taking stock of his new surroundings. The house was quiet, which gave him the feeling that it was quite early. He let his gaze wander from the lace curtains and the warm June day outside. Stretching lazily, he sat back, studying the quiet wallpaper and the small iron tile fireplace, with a lacquered screen standing on its hearth. He heard the hall clock chime faintly from downstairs, counted each chime 10. Leaping out of bed, he dressed hastily and rushed to the bathroom, splashed water on his face, and dashed downstairs, having to leap the last 3 to avoid tripping over Horatio. Ned was sitting in the kitchen beside an empty bowl. He nodded to Ben. Morning, sleep well? The boy answered the thought as he picked up a note from the table. Why didn't you come and wake me earlier? The dog put his front paws on the table alongside his mate. Didn't want to disturb any plans you were sleeping on, you know, to help Miss Winn. What does her note say? Ben scanned the scrap of paper. Gone to the village to do some shopping. Porridge is in the pot on the range. Make tea for yourself. See you later, Winnie. He felt the pot. It was still hot. So the tea's in the teapot. The boy served himself and sat at the table thinking. She can't have been gone too long. The black Labrador blinked patiently. Not more than 10 minutes or so. Well, what's the plan, O wise master? Over the centuries, Ben had become to appreciate the dog's banter. Dishing himself a large bowl of porridge, he conversed as he ate it. A library, that's it, Ned. If Chapel Vale had a library, that'd be a good place for us to start. They'd probably have local history and reference books concerning the area. Might give us a lead or two. The Labrador snorted. A lead? What's that meant to be a joke? Libraries aren't fond of dogs roaming around loose among the books. Not great readers, us dogs. Ben poured tea, stirring in lots of sugar. Right, Ned, so what's your plans for the day? The dog trotted out of the kitchen, passing on his thoughts. Open the front door, mate. I think I'll my I think I'll take a stroll round the village. Keep the old ears open, you know. Might hear some information pass on the young master, eh? Ben grinned. I'm older than you. Let me see. I was born in 1607. That makes me 289 years. And you were only 4 when I met you. That makes you 280. So be more respectful to your elders. Ned turned and poked his head around the doorway. Pup indeed. Listen, laddie. 1 human year is equal to 8 dog years, so that makes me, mm, um, a lot older than you by far. So show a little respect and mind your manners. The boy had his hair and unruly thatch, watched his friend trot off down the patch. Go easy now, old fella. It'll soon be time for your nap. Ha 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 ha. The dog turned and wrinkled his nose. Silence, insolent child. After breakfast, Ben saw Alex and Amy Somers in the lane and nodded back to the house. Do you like my new place? Amy giggled. That's Miss Winn's house. She's nice. We know we went there with Dad when he treated her cat. Are you staying there, Ben? The boy flicked hair from his eyes. For a while. Listen, you two. I need your help again. You know Chapel Vale, is there a local library hereabouts? The girl pointed. Over by the school. It's actually attached to our village school. The librarian is Mr. Braithwaite. Wait. He works in the library right through the summer holidays. You'll likely find him. He's funny. You'll like him. He's funny. Alex led the way. Come on, we'll take you there. What do you want? Some kind of special book? Where's your dog today? Ben strolled along with the friendly pair. Oh, he's around somewhere. He might have gone off on lone rambles. I was wondering if I might get a hold of a book about the local history of Chapel Vale. I was trying to help Miss Wynne prove her claim to the land that hereabout. Amy pulled a face. Oh, that's. You should hear the names my dad calls Mr. Smithers. If Mr. Smithers has his way, it looks like we'll be moving to Hayford soon. Ben noticed the anger look on the girl's pretty face. Hayford, where's that? Alex explained. It's the nearest big town, all factories and streets full of chimney smoke. Dad won't lose his job. He's the veterinary surgeon for most of the county, but if Smithers buys every shop in the village and sets up his quarry and cement work, everyone will have to move. I hate to live in Hayford. Chapel Vale's a good little village. We like it here. Ben nodded. Good. Then let's see what we can do to save the old place. Will you help me? His new friend's eyes shone with excitement. I say we will. Mr. Blythe had a slight stoop and small spectacles balanced on the end of his nose. He had a huge cloud of frizzy gray hair, which he was constantly scratching at absent-mindedly. As Ben and his friends entered the library, Mr. Braithwaite glanced over his glasses at them. Alexandria and Amelia, Somers, isn't it? Yes, right. Now, it's like you two to be in the library when the school's finished for summer. No, indeed. Amy introduced their new friend. Sir, this is Ben. He wants to look at the local history books. We're trying to save the village, you see. The librarian, Coom's schoolmaster, came out from behind his counter, scratching his head with one hand, whilst brushing dandruff from his collar. With the other, he peered at the strange boy with blue eyes. Ah, yes, very good. Isn't there any specific reference you want to see, young man? He tried his best to look intelligent and polite. Yes, sir. I'd like to look at anything with connection to Chapel Vale and the Winn family, please. Mr. Blaythewaite nodded furiously, the pencil falling from his ears as he warmed to his very subject. Yes, Chapel Vale, Winn family, very good. I are actually quite noted devout of local history. Now, if I'm correct, the volume you want is called Village Chronicles of the British Isles, Part 4. Yes, very good, very good. By Roger, let me see, Russell Hope, by Roger Hope Russell. Pardon me. The dusty, leather-bound volume made an echoing thud when Blaythewaite slammed it on the table with the enthusiasm of an amateur historian. He scored the index. Chapel Mount, Chapel North, Chapelton. Yes, I've got it. Page 18, 986, Appendix B. Leafing through the yellow pages, Mr. Blaythewaite found the relevant item. He stood scratching the fizzy mop in the shaft of sunlight until he was surrounded by a halo of dandruff. He nodded approvingly as Ben read aloud from the page. Chapel Varia, Croatia, 1340, medieval village land, granted to sea captain, origin and name unknown, by the Black Prince Edward III. Church built here, later to become an almshouse, used by wayfaring poor and medicine monks. Second church building, Croatia, 1673, following Test Act and persecution of Catholics under Charles II, mainly pastured and some agricultural. Mid-England village with square. Nearby town Hadford. Oh, I'm going to have a sip of tea. Ben scanned the page in silence a while before looking up. Nothing more of real interest, thank you, sir. Is there anything else about Chapel Vale in your library? Mr. Blaythewaite rocked back and forth on his hands. Any what? Oh, no, no, nothing, I'm afraid. Ben signaled his friends with a nod. Many thanks for your help, sir. We've got to go now. Goodbye. The stooped historian stood watching him leave, searching for the pencil behind his ear which had fallen earlier. Quite, yes, goodbye, call again if there's anything you should, need. Very good, yes. They emerged from the library into the sunlit late morning. Ben chuckled. What an odd old foggy. Without warning, Alex went pale. She turned to go back to the library. Ben checked him, noting his frightened look. Steady on there. What's the matter with you, pal? Staring straight ahead, Amy answered for her brother. It's the Grange gang. Wilf Smithers, Regina Woodbury, and the gang had formed a semicircle around the library steps, blocking the way. Ben threw his arms up around the younger boy. Stick with me. They won't bother us, pal. As they started down the steps, Wilf and Regina circled either side of them, their aim to get behind the trio and cut them off any retreat. Wilf pinched Alex's cheek and smiled menacingly. Hello, is it little Alexandria? Clearly terrified, the boy turned beet red and kept silent. This encouraged the boy, who snickered. Alexandria's all gone shy. Blushing, are we, Alexandria? Amy came fiercely to her brother's defense, whirling on Whiff as she shouted at him defiantly. It's not Alexandria. His name's Alexander, you big bully. Why don't you go away and leave us alone? Wolf pretended he had not heard, but Regina positioned herself in front of the smaller girl. She stood blocking Amy's path and folded and a sneer on her face, which was red and bruised from her fall off the garden wall the earlier day. Are you going to make us go away, eh? Smiling at the results of the dog's chase, Ben addressed the Grange girl in a friendly tone. That's a nasty bruise on your face. What happened to you? Whiff was 2 steps above Ben. He turned to the newcomer. It's none of your business, anyhow. Who are you, and what do you want around here? Smiling even wider, the boy shrugged. Oh, I'm nobody. Just been to the library to catch up on a bit of reading. But I don't mind. Imagine reading interests you. No, you look more like the type who likes to color in the pictures. The rest of the gang looked at one another in shock. You didn't talk to Whiff Smithers like that. The village bully was the biggest, strongest boy in Chapel Vale and had a reputation for being quick-tempered and extremely violent. Wilf's face turned brick red at the stranger's insult. Clenching both fists, he snarled dangerously, I'll color your face in for you, smart mouth. Amy shook with fright as Wilf launched himself down the steps, fist swinging. Ben was bound to get hurt. However, the smaller, tow-headed lad stood there, still smiling as if unaware of the danger. Moving a swift half-pace to one side, he turned to face Alex. Do you think he's upset? Ben tucked his head slightly. It was a perfectly timed move. Whiff's fist actually brushed the back of Ben's hair, and then he went sailing past his victim, carried by his own impetus. Stumbling awkwardly, he fell down the last 4 steps onto the gravel. Before anyone could react, the boy skipped nimbly down and began hauling Wilf upright, helpfully brushing the bully's clothing off. What a dreadful fall. Are you all right? Easy now, friend. Hope you haven't broken anything. Wilf's nose had scraped the gravel, and a swelling was starting to show on his forehead. He shoved free of Ben's hands. Let go of me. I'm no friend of yours. The smile never left Ben's face for a moment. Oh, what a shame. I thought we would be pals. I was looking to make new friends in Chapel Vale. The bullying girl grabbed Amy's arm, digging her nails into the cruelty. I'll be seeing you round. But instantly she released the hold, wincing painfully. Ben, on the other hand, had a curious grip and was shaking it heartily. Any friend of Amy's is a pal of mine. Hope to see you around too. You look, Alex. I'm making new friends already. He released Regina's hand. She shot a furious glance at Whiff, who called the rest of the game. Let's get 'em. Ben placed himself in front of Alex and Amy, backing slowly up the steps as the gang members began closing in. He whispered to his friends, "Get out of here. Make a run for it. It's me they want." Alex was about to dash off, but his sister caught his arm. "We're not going without you, Ben." Before she could say more, they were surrounded. There was a panicked squeak from Tomo, the fat boy, followed by a deep, rumbling snarl. The gang froze. The Labrador had come up from behind like a phantom, his hair bristling, muscle bunched. He stood panther-like, ready to spring to attack, quivering lips pulled back to reveal his powerful canine fangs. Ben had his hand up. "Stay, boy, stay." Regina put a small gang member in front of him. "It's the dog. Do you own it?" Seating himself in the bushes, Ben shook his head. "Who, me? No, I don't own him. He just follows me about." "Ha! He must like me, 'cause he's not too friendly with anyone who tries to harm me or my friends." "Ned, come on, good boy, good dog." Stiff-legged and growling with menace, the black dog stalked into a stance beside his mate, throwing out a thought. "Let me chase him, just for exercise. The big one, Whiff. I'll rip the seat out of his pants. I don't like him one bit." Ben took hold of Ned's collar. "Thanks anyway, but stay put for the moment. Carry on with the fierce dog act." Ned stared strained against Ben's hold on his collar, rearing up on his hind legs, trying to get at the gang. Ben did his part by showing difficulty holding the dog back, calling, "You best get going, pals. Don't walk, don't run. Whatever you do, go on. I'll keep him here until you're well out of the way." Amy had never seen but walk, don't run. "Whatever you do, go on and I'll keep him here until you're well out of the way." Amy had never seen the Grange gang go so carefully. They retreated as if they were walking on eggs. From a distance, Wilf turned and pointed a finger at Ben. "I'll see you again, when you haven't got that dog with you." The blue-eyed boy waved cheerily. "That'll be nice, Wilf. Take care of those scratches on your nose. It's red enough as it is." Mr. Bladesworth emerged from the library, scratching his ear. Could you stop your dog barking, please? I can't, hear it, in the, library." "Oh, it stopped. Oh, very good, very good. Nice doggy. Run along now." Ned saw Ben and thought, "Huh, if I scratched as much as he does, he'd probably say I had fleas and make me take a bath." The town-headed lad could not help but laughing out loud. Amy stared at him. "What's the matter, Ben?" He flicked the hair from his eyes. "Oh, nothing, really. You were right, Amy. Mr. Blaithwaite is funny. I like him." We're almost halfway through. This is a good book. Okay, let me sing to you, and then I will be out of you guys' hair. From the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli, we fight our country's battles in the air, on land and sea. First to fight for right and freedom, and to keep our honor clean. We We are proud to claim the title of United States Marines. Our flags unfurled to every breeze, from dawn to setting sun. We have fought in every clime and place where you could take a gun. In the snow of far-off northern lands, and in sunny tropic scenes, you will find us always on the job, the United States Marines. Here's health to you and to our corps, which we are proud to serve. In many a strife we've fought for life and never lost our nerve. If the Army and the Navy ever looked on heaven's scenes, they will find the streets are guarded by United States Marines. Semper Fi. Hoorah. I think I'm going to go for a walk today. Very nice out. All right. Wish you all well. Be safe, be strong, be safe, all those things. Dear Lord, please have your hand of protection on everybody. Take care of them. Give them a place to sleep, to stay, to eat, to shower. Amen. Emmanuel, God with us.